And welcome back. Last week we were joined by CUFI's founding executive director, David Brog, to discuss his must-read new book, Reclaiming Israel's History. Well, David is back this week to correct the false narrative about the supposed inhumanity of Israel's military and much more. Take a look. You talk about, David, the great morality of Israeli fighters during the War for Independence, and you have a chapter in the book called The Most Moral Army in the World, talking about the IDF today. You know, the IDF gets its reputation oftentimes in some media outlets and beyond of being baby killers and inhumane, but the reality is much different. The IDF, as you say, most moral army in the world, probably in the history of humanity, I would say. The IDF, the extraordinary lengths it goes to avoid civilian casualties.
Israel's detractors will have fits. What are you talking about? The Israelis are the worst offenders of human rights. They perpetrate massacres. Again, the myth about Israel has it exactly backwards. I like to quote a friend of ours, a non-Jew, Colonel Richard Kemp. Colonel Richard Kemp led the British forces in Afghanistan during our most recent war in Afghanistan. And he visited Israel during Israel's wars with Gaza in 2008, 2009, 2012, and 2014. And it's Richard Kemp, not me, who said no army in the history of warfare has done more to protect the lives of innocent civilians in a combat zone than Israel has done during these wars in Gaza.
And he's quite an authority.
He's quite an authority.
Yeah.
And let me tell you what, the steps to which Israel goes to protect the lives of innocent Palestinian civilians endangers Israeli soldiers. Most Israelis will say, you know what, if that's the price we have to pay to live up to our morality, if that's the price we have to pay to live up to the Judeo-Christian respect for innocent human life, then we'll pay that price. But they ask one thing. They ask one thing, can you please tell the world the truth? Yeah. Can you please tell the world that I sent my son to fight door by door to try to save innocent lives and in the process lost my son? Can you please tell the world the truth? Because the world seems to think somehow that we're monsters, that we don't respect innocent human lives. And part of what I wanted to do in this book is to bring that message, to tell that truth, because it is the truth.
Yeah, and you do it beautifully, David. This is a much needed dose of truth, I think, reclaiming Israel's history. Thanks so much for your time, my friend. Last question. I think this is a very important point. We talked about the 5 no's, the continued rejection. Israel gives land, they get bombs in return. Why is the world so obsessed with the Palestinian refugee issue? You talk about this in the book. I think it's very interesting. A lot of people won't know that there have been different ethnic groups, minority groups around the world that have been refugees through the years, but the UN, the world, are fixated on the Palestinian issue. What are some of the motivating factors behind that?
You know, it's hard to say. You know, people claim that Israel has perpetrated some amazing atrocity in the Middle East because the Palestinian people don't have their independence. And they treat this as if it's rare in human history. The UN itself acknowledges that of the 6,000 national groups on planet Earth, only 3% have achieved their independence. So the fact that there's a people group, a new one, claiming that they haven't achieved their independence is not some rare atrocity or exception. It's the rule. And this people group, by the way, could have had their independence if they hadn't turned down every single offer of independence they were given. History teaches us one and only one thing. The Palestinians have suffered no singular tragedy. Their suffering, which is real, was brought upon them by the decisions of their leaders and their rulers. And the door has been opened to them time after time after time to build, to look forward, to join hands with the Jews and build what could be a flourishing region of the world. It's because of the poor choices they and their leaders make. And the violence in which they have wallowed and to which they have resorted. And the fact that the world doesn't reject that violence but somehow condones it, that they continue to suffer to this day.
Yeah. It's a sad thing, but David, thank you so much for illuminating us with the truth. Thank you for reclaiming Israel's history, for showing that Israel is the solution and not the problem in the Middle East. David, thanks so much for joining us. Good luck with the book.
Thank you, Eric.
It's a great one.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you, my
so
friend.
much, man.
Anytime. Folks, again, the book is called Reclaiming Israel's History. You can find it at Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, or wherever books are sold from coast to coast. Pick it up. Well, coming up after the break, how does Israel manage to survive against all odds? The answer up next. Stick around.